For me, getting diagnosed with alopecia was a fairly disorienting process, and I think that because of the way that it has such an effect on appearance, I think it can have an effect on the people around the person experiencing it. So I was gonna kind of go through what my experience has been like, just to share, what I've what I've seen, and we'll start basically by just we want to talk about what is alopecia areata, and variations like that. So the Cleveland Clinic website has a page about it. So it says alopecia areata is an autoimmune disease that causes patchy hair loss anywhere on your body, but it most commonly affects the hair on the skin that covers your head. And so there are other causes of hair loss. There's something called telogen effluvium, but this is my experience with it, and with alopecia areata specifically. After got a haircut in mid-September 2022, my wife noticed there were a few small patches on the back of my head where I'd had it cut kind of short, like razor cut, and we didn't really know if it was just some minor thing, maybe a haircut mistake or something with the razor, So it didn't really stand out too much at that moment. So then, kind of suddenly one day in kind of the later part of October, I noticed that hair had just fallen out. There were two patches where the hair had fallen out, had gone bald, and kind of just behind the front of my hair, and then the front there, like right toward the front, and then kind of one a little further toward the back, and then over time there were more patches. So a lot of hair started falling out as I got into November, and so at that point, one of the things I noticed was I had kind of long hair, and longer hair, and the hair would fall out more than would seem normal when brushing, and then there'd be hair on my pillow and stuff like that. So I started losing these large clumps. I made medical appointments, and so I saw the physician at my HMO, and so I had the long hair. I had some long hair, little patches really of long hair left now at this point. And I was examined and then diagnosed with alopecia areata. And the site, the Cleveland Clinic site, lists these different versions of it. So there's alopecia areata totalis, where you lost all the hair on your scalp, and then alopecia areata universalis, where you've lost all the hair on your scalp and all your body hair. Now, my experience was somewhere, I guess, closer to the totalis one, but some characteristics of those. So I was prescribed then in December 2022. I was prescribed Rogaine, which I actually didn't use, and it was kind of this optional thing. Um, and I decided I didn't want it. It was all happening really fast, and I didn't think I wanted it then, but it kind of just got put on the prescription, and then I didn't use that, but I was also prescribed topical steroids, and I think they were the cortico steroids. I'm a really read a bit about it, and they're not considered the very like strong kind of steroids, but they're I used a little bit of that on my head. So I use a little bit of topical steroids, but then actually over time, uh, the hair not only continued, it all pretty much fell out on the scalp. But then also I noticed that I started losing the hair on my eyebrows and eyelashes. So that was starting to happen more in like January, February, and so I think at that point that was probably the least of it, like hair that I had. At a certain point, then the hair started growing back in like this with this white wispy hair, and this kind of kept growing as 2023 went on. This kept going to the point where I didn't know whether I was just regrowing the hair now as white, because I do have some I think some genetic predisposition to have kind of hair go like white, maybe even like in my 40s. So I was like, well, that could happen. But actually, as the summer continued to go on, some of the wispy white hair started getting displaced by darker hair. And that's a phenomenon that has continued up to now here at the end of November of 2023, where there's more as a trend of the darker hairs moving in. So it's obviously it's a kind of thing that's very hard to predict where it goes going forward. I currently have obviously cut buzz down pretty short, and so I think like that just kind of goes through basically what I experienced when I had the hair fall out, and got some medical attention around it. So it's definitely important to look into any kind of person, their own individual case, and to get the best professional, like medical advice that they can in their in their community. And I do think it's important to be careful with if you know someone that's going through this, that appearance is a big deal. And I just want to remind people, you are not your appearance. There's a lot to a person, and so reducing a person to something like that is just inherently like that's not, it's not really the important thing. I don't think, but in practical terms, it plays a big role in American society, and in other ways, but overall, in all sorts of societies. So I think there's something I wanted to point out, that people will sometimes, maybe people that know the person with experiencing alopecia will, especially at first, treat it like a grave health crisis. And while it's important to get attention and to figure out what the cause of the hair loss is. It's also important to remember that alopecia specifically doesn't involve usually damage to the hair follicles. Now that means that in some cases the hair can grow back, and also it's important to disentangle the associations that we have in some cases where hair loss is also associated with cancer treatments like chemotherapy. And it's important to recognize that that hair loss can be similar from different causes, but it's important to put the different causes into context, and to maybe to get educated about the different causes of hair loss, and how hair loss again is associated with chemotherapy. It's very rarely associated with underlying cancer symptoms, and that is just one example of how the appearance on the outside of the loss of hair can lead to a lot of people maybe drawing conclusions about the person that aren't necessarily accurate or necessary to draw. Now I know that this also affects women, many women, and while every society is different, and some societies not being able to grow a beard would probably be a big problem for men. Like in American society, a lot of Western societies, there's a lot of expectations around appearance and hair for women, and so the diagnosis of alopecia, it's not common, but it's not especially rare either. So I think that it's certainly it's just kind of like something that I can say that I've kind of gone through, and it isn't really something I think of as being that big of a deal. I am pretty okay with just the way that I look, but I know that it is something that people will notice, and I think it's important to recognize that everyone's going to handle these kind of things differently, and in my case, I'm happy to discuss this kind of thing and answer questions people have. Now, but everybody is different about the way they want to talk about this kind of thing. All right. Well, that pretty much sums up, the kind of stuff that I think I've experienced and I've noticed about this.